Hey, this is Tim bringing you words of grace today from our living room. And we're kind of indoors quite a bit lately because of the social distancing. And so we're needing to be. And that really brings up a good test, a good life test. One of the biggest secrets of life that we need to make sure we're all aware of. And maybe you've never been introduced to it. No matter what our circumstances are, whether we're trapped inside with nowhere to go, or have the greatest of circumstances, we can be content and even find our delight in the Lord. That's what Paul said. He said he had learned the secret of knowing how to have little and how to abound. Proverbs puts it this way, the ways of wisdom are pleasant ways. David said, the Lord is my inheritance. Indeed, my heritage is beautiful to me. He goes on to say, in your right hand are pleasures forever. Another psalm, he says, you have put gladness in my heart more than when their grain and new wine abound. Jesus said that those who are yoked to him have an easy yoke and find in him their rest. A life of selfishness is not one that is joyful. Life of sin is not one that will bring lasting joy. Right? No matter what designer sin you want to indulge in, these texts are telling us there's greater delight in the Lord. And God actually wants you to walk that way. He's delighted when you're delighted in him. And he's made us to where we find no greater delight than in him. So you may be someone who's not working today, and perhaps you even lost your job. You may not have good health, and actually you may have poor health. You might not have a close companionship with others or a significant other. You may have very little. You may be dirt poor, but in spite of all these circumstances, you can have delight and joy in God. In his book, Desiring God, John Piper puts this principle this way: God is most glorified in us when we are most satisfied in him. It's the principle of Christian hedonism, where we can find our greatest pleasure in Christ, and then we can pursue that greatest pleasure. As you know, Christians have been saying this for ages. Tozer shared this in The Pursuit of God, J.I. Packer in Knowing God. I want to recommend to you today Matthew Henry. Matthew Henry wrote, The Pleasantness of a Religious Life, Life as Good as It Can Be. I try to read this each year, and I hope to read it through every year of my life, because it brings so much health to my soul. He wrote this as one of his final projects, and actually was printed as after he died. Of course, pleasure is powerful. We have these commercials that show people smiling and saying, here's where pleasure is in getting X, Y, or Z, their product. And so in appealing to the youth of his day, he showed not to run away from pleasure, but to find your pleasure in God. Sinful pleasures are pleasurable for a short time period, and then they're replaced with a guilty conscience or a ruined body or ruined life. There's pleasure in walking with God that goes far beyond any other pleasure. The first chapter, Matthew Henry explains the principle in this way: a holy, heavenly life spent in the service of God and in communion with him is without doubt the most pleasant and comfortable life any man can live in the world. In the second chapter, he shares 12 pleasures that we have in walking with God. As here is bait that has no hook under it, a pleasure courting you which has no pain attending it, no bitterness at the latter end of it, a pleasure which God himself invites you to and which will make you happy and eternally happy. He gives some of these. First, you know God on a personal level. That's heaven itself. Second, we find in God a rest for our soul. Fourth, interesting, we find a really great way to enjoy all our other comforts. He calls them our creature comforts. We can find greater joy in these minor things and gifts from the Lord, knowing they're from him. Right? So this apple pie I can really enjoy, but I can enjoy it better knowing that it came from the Lord, and I can taste it to the glory of God. Or if it's not apple pie that you like, your can of cabbage or kale. And he goes on and gives 12 of these experiences that are delightful for the Christian. He continues in the chapters that remain to share the byproducts of walking with God. Let me encourage you to pick this up and read it. But even more so, let me encourage you to find your delight in God today. If you find in God your contentment, No one can take God from you. You'll always be content. If you find in God your delight, no one can take God from you. You'll always have delight. And that may be stuck in your living room, or stuck in a prison, or stuck in a sickbed. You can still delight in God. Let me give you an exercise of one of these aspects of delighting in God. Little tutorial here. Let's take Psalm 145 and walk through how to do this communion with God, which is one of the pleasures of the Christian life. 3 steps to this. Step 1, look. Look at Psalm 145, verse 1. Write it out. I will extol you, my God, O King, and I will bless your name forever. Look at that. Look at the different aspects of who God is. Look, read. Secondly, after you've written that out, think. Meditate. That's chewing on this truth in your heart. God is king, so he's in charge. God is king, so I need to obey him. God is king. His authority goes over the head of my boss or my political leaders. Step 3, exalt. Once you've thought about this, you've meditated on this, don't keep it there. Then raise your voice and your heart to the Lord, and I praise you, for you are king. I don't dread the future, for you're in control. Right? I praise you, for you're the king of this current situation and circumstance that we're in. Lord, help me to obey you as my king. And then you'll be meditating on the glory of God, finding delight in who he is. All right, thank you for joining me today. Find your delight in God today. Rejoice in him. Once you have that secret, you can have joy in any and every circumstance.